let us officially open our event by inviting the center manager, Mr. Mudiselle, to officiate, to properly open our workshop.
The workshop is to equip the students with different study skills methods for effective learning and studying. And on the program, we have Ms. Monama, who is the head of counseling in the Northeastern region, who will be talking about study skills from a brain profiling perspective. We also have Ms. Molekwa, a student counselor from DCCD, who will be taking us through the DOS and the don'ts, the do's and the don'ts of how one can improve memory, attention, and concentration when one is studying. Among these great speakers, we have an intern, Relebohile, who will take us through her journey on how she maneuvered through distance learning from her undergraduate to postgraduate studies.
First presenter we have Ms. Mpho Monama, who is the head of counseling in the Northeastern region. She'll be diving into brain profiling.
My topic is on nettling brain profiling and study skills. I believe most of you are asking themselves, what is brain profiling? Brain profiling is an expertise that one will have when they undergo a course that will make them brain profilers. So as the screen indicates, I'm a clinical psychologist by profession. I'm also a brain profiler. And in this regard, we interact these two. How do you then use your study skills whilst you're taking into account your brain preferences? Because you need to feed your brain what it needs so that the products that you expect from it are what you are looking for. So you will see as we go how we explain brain profiling. So this is the presentation outline. I will explain what is nettling brain profiling and how does it work. I will also go into detail on how we ultimately put an individual into quadrants. There are different quadrants that we use, and those quadrants also identify the preferences of an individual, and later also advises on how will then that person have to study or use their time or maybe improve on their concentration and all that. And also, how will this assist an individual in terms of study skills? We have different learning styles, which is very important for studying because the methods that you use to study needs to assist you to be later in a position to remember the information. So how you encode the information, meaning how you put in the information, is the most important part, because how you store it, where you store it is also very important. Later, you're then going to want to retrieve the information. That's recalling. You're going to want to remember the information, either maybe during your exam time or maybe when you're writing your assignments. You need to be able to remember such information. So the study period and the learning period are very crucial. You need to have adequate skills to be able to do such. All right. So explaining what NBI is, that's nettling brain profiling. It's a comprehensive learning and thinking style assessment. We literally assess how is this individual as preference in terms of learning, and how is this individual's preference in terms of thinking. And thinking is either you'll be using your left brain or your right brain, your top right or your bottom right, and how you make your decisions. It also assesses your primary factors that mostly influence your brain performance and your learning receptive. How you receive the information in your brain is also deducted from the preferences of your brain. How you ultimately capture the information in your brain and how you store that information also depends on the preferences of your brain. It also gives insight into the individual's thinking preferences. Are you the one that thinks in color, or are you the one that thinks in black and white? Are you the one that thinks in music? Do you prefer things to be explained to you, or it's easier for you to read them by yourself? Because that's also very important. There are people that um are able to remember information because they were in a group discussion and someone was explaining it to them, and it's easy for them to remember. But then there are those people that it's easy for them to remember the information if they get a textbook, or they get a study guide, or they get a manual, they sit and they read the document themselves. So the brain Neethling profiling also helps you to understand how the brain works and also how certain things are done for an individual. Do you prefer to study maybe sitting under a tree somewhere where there is a lot of noise, or you prefer to study where there's a table and a chair, a very a structured environment? It's very important that one understands their thinking preferences, because it helps you to know what will work for you. It also helps that you understand the thinking preferences of the others, so that you'll have your own personal effectiveness and growth. You will know that, like your friend, if your friend is Lerato and you study together, you will have an insight that Lerato prefers to study in the early hours of the morning. But that does not work for me, because if I do that, I easily forget the information. So you will now have your personal effectiveness. You'll also have a personal growth, because that knowledge, that insight will build you and make you a better person in terms of what works and what doesn't work for you. This process of brain profiling also helps an individual to develop self-awareness and better relationship with other people. Because if you have a better understanding of how the next person, or how your sister is, or how your partner is, how your mother is, how your child is, in terms of brain preferences, your relationship becomes better, because you have a better understanding. Sometimes as parents, like parent-child relationship, you find that you are a right brainer. You're very free spirited, you're very flexible, you're very cheerful, and you have a child who's a left brainer, who's very structured, a child who prefers things to be done in an orderly way. The relationship might have a bit of a friction. The same happens when it comes to academic work. You might find that you have a study buddy who is a left brainer that does things well in advance, like their time management skills are very good. They don't do things in the last minute. But someone else in the study group prefers to do things a day before, 2 days before. That's how flexible they are. So this brain profiling helps you to understand an individual in a better way, and also makes you to be able to make decisions of what will work and what won't work for you. So the brain profiling gives you an indication of how a person communicates, how they act towards other people, how they conduct their businesses, what kind of business will they embark on, how they learn, how they teach. Will they be satisfied or not satisfied with the kind of work that they do? How are they solving their problems? Maybe they did not manage to send an assignment on time. How does that individual approach that problem at that time? It indicates in terms of how their brain prefers to do things and how do they make decisions. In the beginning, I've indicated that the Neethling brain profiling has quadrants. And whilst I was making a presentation, you heard me talking about the left brainer and the right brainer. So this slide is clearly explaining what is it that we talk about when we say someone is a left brainer or someone is a right brainer. And we have a top right brainer and a bottom right brainer, a left um, brainer, which is a top left brainer, and the bottom left brainer. So when one does this assessment, it gives you a profile in terms of your preferences. Like, are you a strategist? Are you a leader? Are you someone that is good in communication? Are you someone that will work in an open space environment, or it's someone that needs to have a closed environment. And also we use it in terms of career assessments. What can this person do? What will they enjoy in terms of their brain preferences? All right, so with the quadrants, we have the left and the right. Let's start with the right. Top right, R1. People in the R1, they enjoy taking risks. They are idea driven. They're not concerned about the rules. Like they perform if they are expected to perform, but they do not conform to structure or rules. And they get bored easily when there is a routine that they have to follow because they are flexible. Like you ask them to come to work by 10 or by 9 o'clock, they come at 2 o'clock. You ask for a report, they will still deliver the report. It doesn't mean they don't do the job. They might not conform to the rules that are being put out there. They are very flexible and they enjoy change. Anything that comes that is new, they jump to it. And then they like exploring new things. So if we are to put people in terms of careers or in terms of career choices, people in project management, everything is new for them. They start a new project, they finish a new project, they start another one. So they're not stuck in one routine over and over and over again. People in marketing. Nowadays we have content creators, people that want to do something that is different over and over. They fit very well with the R1. But you can't take an R1 and want to put them in L1. L1 is people that are very structured, people that prefer working with facts, people that are very critical, they prefer numbers, and then things have to be right. And these people, in most cases, they are in sciences. They're either doing science or they're doing either computer science or BScs, or they are doing mathematics related qualifications, something that is structured, something that has facts, something that they can argue, something that it can give them an idea of what is it that they need to prove. Then when you go to R2, R2, yes, they are risk taking, they are idea driven, but these ones, they're social people. They're very approachable. They're people orientated. They love to be around people. They're very empathetic. They are able to put themselves in the shoes of the people that they work with or the people that they study with. Like they're those kind of people that when you're struggling to finish your assignment, they will reach out and ask, how can I help? Like, are we supposed to be submitting, but you are nowhere near finishing your assignment? How can we assist? And then they're aware of other people's feelings. They're very playful, and in most cases, they are comfortable with touch and they enjoy working with people. So when we look at careers, a lot of people that fall under R2, they are people that are in careers that are socially orientated, like social work, criminology, sociology, anything that has to do with people, psychology, anything that has to do with having to build a relationship with a fellow individual and be empathetic when it comes to their emotions. And then the last one is L2. L2, these individuals, they enjoy planning and organizing. They're very traditional and structured. So they prefer guidelines and punctuality. These ones, when you say we come to work at 7:30, they will be at work at 7:30 and they will knock off at 4:30 if they have to knock off at 4:30. They do not struggle with structure. If something is being put like this, they will follow it as it is. They are very clear on guidelines, they're punctual, they struggle with change. Don't say we are going to meet for a group discussion on Friday at 1 o'clock. And then on Friday at 8:30, you want to change the time. They struggle with change. They struggle with when they had planned for something for that day. It needs to happen as they had planned for it. When that thing does not happen, it disturbs the whole plan for the day because they are very systematic. They have to follow 10:30, this is the plan. 11 o'clock, this is the plan. 12 o'clock, this is the plan. So if you disturb the plan, so their whole day, it's solely disturbed. So you need to work carefully with them, because you can actually disturb everything that they had planned for the day. So understanding these different patterns helps you when you have maybe group that you're studying with. You will be able to understand that, okay, Susan prefers that we stick to the time. We should not change time over and over again, because it disturbs everything that they had planned. Automatically now it tells you how do they prefer to do things. And then R2, it will be someone, Thomas prefers to check up on us if we are done with our assignments, if we are coping, how can he help, and all that. Then it already shows you where is this kind of an individual. When it comes to studying, the approach is also different. So L1s, they prefer textbooks, instructions needs to be clear, and the arguments need to be very logical. When they study, please bear in mind, you need to understand how these quadrants work in terms of preferences of studying an environment that works for them. When they study, those that are on the left-hand side, they prefer a desk, a quiet space, a chair and a desk in a quiet space. All the books or all the information that they need to study with needs to be available at that time, like summaries, research, documents that they're going to use needs to be there. Like they should not be standing up, going to maybe another room, fetching something, or standing up, having to go print something. No, they want everything to be all in one. And the environment has to be neat. Information needs to be readily available. If there's a workboard or they have where they can scribble their notes, they also prefer to work in that way. Like, for example, a library setting. People who are L1, it's easy for them to work in a library setting because it's quiet, it's neat, it allows them to be in a very structured environment. So it's easy for them, for their brain to concentrate, because it's not disturbed by anything around. Then we'll have the L2s. Remember, the L2s are the ones that prefer structure, the ones that prefers routine. Things should be done in a very structured environment. It should not change over time. So they study by textbooks. Their study times are very chronological and well planned. So these ones, it's easy for them to follow a study timetable. L2s, it's easy for them to follow a timetable. If they have a timetable that says we study at 10 o'clock up until 12 o'clock on Thursday and on Friday, they are able to follow such a timetable. And their lessons or their studies or their modules are clearly indicated that, okay, I'm studying psychology, or I'm studying social work, or I'm studying English today, and it's easy for them to follow that. And it's easy for them to follow that routine, the repetition of the study timetable as it is. They also prefer a quiet space. Information needs to be readily available for them. They practice the subject matter. They're very practical in their approach. So they want, it's those that you find when they study, maybe they want to be teachers. They would say, okay, let me explain to you. And then the group will like pay attention, and they explain in detail their understanding of whatever that they are discussing at the time, because it's easy for them to remember the information when it's them who are explaining to the other people. Programs are very handy for them, as well as a Blackboard. Like they also prefer to make notes. And then you will then realize how there's a shift in terms of preferences because we spoke of the L1 and the L2. When it comes to the right brainers, they're very spontaneous. They can just decide, okay, I'm gonna study now. It's 10:30. Okay, maybe I'll start studying at 11 o'clock. And which module am I studying? I will study geography. So they don't plan ahead. They don't have a timetable that they have to follow. So they are very holistic in their view. They're very spontaneous. And then they are visual in most cases, meaning they use their eyes to remember or to see the information, and the information will be stored, and then it will be easy for them to remember. So how they study, they can either study sitting or lying on their bed, like they seldomly use a table. And like, just imagine how many of us, when we are studying, we able to study in our bedrooms, lying on our bed or lying on the floor, just going through the document as it is. There are those that it works for them because that's what their brain prefers. But then there are those that even if they try that, they're going to fail dismally because that's not how their brain prefers information to be encoded. Their brain has a preference in how the information needs to be encoded. And the right brainers, they don't scribble notes, they don't write notes. Rather, they draw diagrams. It's easy for them to explain things in pictures. So they draw diagrams or pictures, and when they are to explain the information, it's easy for them to explain the information through those pictures that they have drawn or through the diagrams that they have drawn. So you won't find that maybe they were studying one chapter or two chapters, and you find their notes are taking maybe 3 or 4 or 5 pages. That's very rare. Either their notes are in a form of diagrams or in a form of graphs or in a form of drawings. So it can maybe take 2 pages, but they were studying the whole chapter. But when they are expected to explain what they have studied, it's very easy for them to explain what they have studied because they've used the method that works for them. So what another disadvantage for the R1s is they're easily distracted. So if they don't use the method that works for them, their mind wanders. Like you'll say they are studying, but after 30 minutes or an hour after they were sitting and studying, when you start discussing maybe the topic that you were studying, you find they did not grab anything because their brain was not solely invested in what they were studying at that time. Their mind was just wandering around because of maybe the environment is not conducive, or maybe the method that they are using to study at that time, it's not conducive. The environment needs to be colorful. So rarely you will find people that are right brainers studying in the library. They fall asleep, like they get bored, they struggle to sit down and be conformed to the structure of the library and the structure and the rules of the library. Remember, the library says you don't make noise unless if you go to the side of the library where you're allowed to make discussions. But the other side of the library says you're not allowed to make discussions, you're not allowed to make noise. You sit on your chair and your table and you study. People who are right brainers will struggle a lot with such environment because they need to be lying around, they need to be flexible, they need to be discussing. So it's going to be very difficult for them to study in such an environment. They need an environment that is colorful, an environment that is enticing, an environment that will keep them entertained. They also need challenging information. They are more their approach is more artistic. So you'll find that when they've drawn such diagrams, or they've drawn the graphs, they make them so lively. They use color. So people in their right brain, who are right brainers, you find they prefer maybe using highlighters, excuse me, or writing with a different pen. Like they don't like black pens. They don't like just writing on a paper with a black pen. Yes, they can write using a black pen, but they will use a highlight or they will use a red pen to circle something. There needs to be color. They prefer to have a colorful study environment, but a colorful book that has notes inside, and that will be enticing to the brain. Then we go to the R2. These ones, remember, it's the social ones, the ones that people orientated. They prefer to work in a group. So there are those that prefer to have group discussions, like when they say they have studied and they understand a certain concept, they would have discussed it with someone else. And they study with movement as well. Either they study with dance or they study with a certain movement. It helps them to remember. They use music in most cases, meaning these ones are auditory students. They have to hear it for them to be able to remember the information. They also use association. And association, how they use it, they are able to remember a concept associated with a specific something when they are expected to write an exam. If they remember that information, or they remember what they've associated the information with, so it's easy for them to remember that information. And they show emotion. Remember, these are socially orientated individuals, and it's easy for them to learn amongst people. And they use music, like I said, and then they talk out loud. There are those that when they study, they read out loud. Remember, they have to hear it. So it's easy for them to hear and remember. So what we advise such students is when you study, record yourself. When you have a chapter that you are studying, record yourself. And as you are walking around, maybe you go into the shops or you're just taking a walk, listen to that chapter that you had studied, because your brain captures information from what it had listened to. So it's easy for the brain to remember that information. And the environment, like I've said, it needs to have room for movement, it needs to be colorful, and it needs to be comfortable for them. Incorporating everything, which is brain preference, your study methods, as well as your learning styles. If you get to a point where you have an understanding of how this theory works, it's easy for one to be able to perform to their best ability, because they'll be using the relevant skills. They'll be using the skills that are definitely going to work for them. So they're not using skills that they have seen someone using. They know these are the relevant skills that are going to work for them. During my presentation, you've heard that I've spoken about people that are visual, they prefer visual method of study, which is they have to see the information, they have to read, they have to study the information for them to be able to remember. Then we have the auditory people that they have to hear. So they have to read out loud, record themselves, listen. If you have, maybe sometimes you have modules that have tutorial classes, record the tutorial session and listen to it over and over. It's easy for you to remember, just like the way you taking time to know lyrics of specific song. Like, we are very big on music, so you have a way that you use, that you make sure you remember that specific song, and when it plays, you know each and every word. You remember the lyrics from the beginning to the end. So it means you have encoded the information auditorily, you have listened to the song and you have stored the information. Then when you need to remember it when it's playing, the brain is able to give you the information. So as an auditory student, you need to be able to use that method. Read out loud, listen to that information several times, use verbal instructions, repeat to a friend or repeat to yourself. Use a mirror, stand in front of the mirror, read out loud that information, that chapter, record it, and then listen to it over and over. Next time, it will just come back to you readily because you have used the right method of capturing the information. And then other students prefer to read and write. So these ones, they need to start studying early because it means they are rewriting everything. When they read, they have to read and write. Like when they write their notes, they write their notes in detail. So they have very good notes taking skills. They make sure that their notes are very detailed, and that can consume a lot of time. So it will take us to, they need to have very good time management skills, because it means if exam is in June or July or May or June, it means they need to start studying for the exam now, because they will be rewriting most of the things, and they can't study maybe 2 days before because they won't have enough time to write down all the information or to write down all the notes that they need. And lastly, we have kinesthetic. Kinesthetic, they prefer to learn by doing things. For example, those that are in agriculture or those that are in science, they learn, let's say, parts of the, I don't know, parts of, in agriculture, if they're doing animal production, parts of the animals, they have to be touching all the parts of the animals for them to be able to remember them. And then if they're in science, they have to be mixing all the chemicals to be able to remember them. So in kinesthetic, they incorporate the body. Everything that they do, they learn by doing it. So they have to touch, they have to feel it, and they are very hands-on. Like I said, you need to be able to understand your brain preference. And when you understand your brain preference, you will know which study methods will work for you. And incorporating these study methods with the learning styles, so that when you sit down or when you lie down or when you are in a group setting, you are encoding the information, you are putting the information inside your brain, and then you are storing it accordingly. Then the day you want to remember the information would be easy because the information would have been stored adequately. Thank you very much.
Our next guest speaker is one of my own. She's my intern here at the Johannesburg Center, Relebogile Maifadi. She's our intern, an honors graduate in psychology. So now, basically, what Lebs is going to do is to school us in a way and give us tips on how to navigate ODEL. You know, UNISA, we're a distance learning institute. So it's quite important for you to, to gain skills on how to maneuver this whole thing. Because I know some of you are students, but you're working full time as well. Some of us are parents, you are studying, you are working, you know, you do all these things at once. So now for you to avoid a lot of fatigue and stress and, you know, you need to listen to Ulebu because she's been through the journey. She's going to take us through it. And definitely sure, after she's done, you will learn a thing or two as to how to tackle or how to approach studying in such an institution as ours.
Okay, so good morning, students. Good morning, fellow colleagues. My name is Relebogile Maifadi. As Mr. May previously stated, I'm an intern for the Directorate of Counseling and Career Development, and I am based at UNISA's Johannesburg Regional Center. Okay, so I have obtained both my BA in Applied Psychology and my honors with UNISA. So I'll basically be sharing what I have picked up along the way. Okay, so I hope we are all having an insightful workshop thus far. I trust that we all have been paying attention and absorbing as much information as possible, okay, because we curate these workshops to ensure that you, as students, are well equipped with the essential tools that will foster professional and academic development, especially in a learning environment such as this. So all of this will definitely come in handy, trust me. Hopefully, as the presentation continues, you'll understand why. Okay, so basically, my presentation today is Navigating Open Distance E-Learning, a brief exploration of open distance e-learning and the transition it brings. Okay, so this presentation will guide you through the diverse aspects of navigating ODEL, covering everything from fundamental concepts to practical strategies. Okay, so this is the presentation outline. So in this presentation, I'll be focusing on how we go about navigating open distance e-learning, and I'll expound on what I believe to be the essentials to succeeding in that learning environment, especially as a first-year student. Okay, so I have dissected the presentation into the following main sections. Okay, so first on our agenda, we will briefly discuss the concept of open distance e-learning, just an overview of the concept and insights into the institution's approach and the concept itself. Then secondly, I will discuss the transition from contact teaching and learning to ODEL. So there are some of us who are coming straight from high school and coming to UNISA, or others who have obtained qualifications from other institutions that require you to be on campus and require lessons every single day. So I'll just touch on the transition phase, what I've picked up from that, adapting to the shift of the learning methods. Then thirdly, we'll proceed to the survivor's guide, what I'll call the survivor's guide, where I will discuss the effective skills, behaviors, and resources that I deem to be paramount to your academic journey with us. So just small and tips here and there for succeeding in the ODL, EL environment. Then second last part, our key points. So I'll condense everything into just 3 key focal points, okay, that will just summarize navigating this learning approach. So highlighting the focal points to navigating online learning. And then the 5th point, so then finally, this will be the last segment of the presentation, time willing. If I do have enough time at the end, we'll have a moment to engage with one another. I'll just request a few of you, maybe 1 or 2, to briefly share how you've managed to navigate online learning so far. So maybe you're a second-year student, third year, final, postgrad, whatever the case may be. But that's if we have enough time. You just share how you navigated open distance learning, the challenges and adaptations. Okay. So first off, the concept of open distance e-learning. So to start the presentation on the right note, I reckon it would be best to briefly address the concept of open distance learning and the university's approach to this concept of teaching and learning. Okay, so basically, these are the descriptors of this approach. Open distance learning just revolutionized education. It's very flexible for students around the world. Okay, so UNISA is not just popular here in South Africa. Okay, we're intercontinental, we're international. I mean, we have offices in Ethiopia as well. So that just goes to show how this concept basically just connects us from different parts of the world. He's opened doors for those who have been unable to pursue traditional on-campus education. So it could be because of family issues, it'd be because of work, or whatever the case may be. Yeah, so that kind of flexibility really can work for anyone under any circumstances. Okay. Open distance e-learning also promotes lifelong learning, allowing individuals to continuously enhance their knowledge and adapt to evolving industries. So as you continue to push through in the world of work, when you're already working, you know that at the same time, you can continue to upskill through this learning approach without having to sacrifice work or any other commitments that you may have. It has a global impact, fostering cultural exchanges and enabling education for individuals in remote and underprivileged areas. Okay, so these are basically just the descriptors of ODL. ODEL, not forget the E. This is essentially what the concept encompasses. Okay, so the fundamentals, just 3 fundamentals that I have picked up along the way of open distance e-learning. The flexibility, as I've mentioned in the previous slide. So we offer flexible learning schedules, facilitate learning at your own pace. But just because there's own pace doesn't mean you must slack off. As long as you stay on your deadlines, then learning at your own pace should come easy. Self-directed learning. Okay, students need to manage their own study schedule and adopt a personalized learning experience. So the way that Jabu, for instance, learns or takes on UNISA is not going to be the same way you will take on your learning approach. So you have to have a personalized, tailored approach to how you'll tackle and manage your studies. Okay. Technology integration, incorporating digital tools for enhanced learning experience. So the most important ones, your Outlook, email, My UNISA, those digital tools will come very handy, okay, on a daily basis. Okay. Then let me go to the next slide. So now UNISA as an open distance e-learning institution. Okay, I don't want to brag too much about UNISA because I'm an alumni, but we all know UNISA has a great reputation when it comes to adopting this open distance e-learning approach. I mean, we saw during COVID how other institutions had to only then take it a bit more seriously because of the pandemic and everybody being at home. But for us, it was just a smalling and a shift, and then we continued business as usual. So we already have a reputation as one of the leading institutions for open distance e-learning. Okay, so pioneering, trailblazer in distance education initiatives. Okay, forward thinking, constantly adapting with innovative learning methods. Okay, so UNISA is a long-standing prominent ODL, is a trailblazer in providing quality education through open distance learning. UNISA offers a wide array of programs and courses tailored to meet the diverse learning needs of a global student base. The university continually introduces innovative digital initiatives to enhance the ODL experience for students. Okay. So the distance and open distance e-learning just basically means that majority of your communications with the institution, be it through staff or other students or whatever the case may be, will be virtual. But this does not mean that you are alone. You won't be left stranded. We offer a variety of support services, including online resources, counseling, and tutorial assistance. Okay, so that last part, that's one part that I wasn't aware of, and I had to kind of go through that the hard way. Okay, I did not expose myself to the resources that were offered to us as students, and it made things more difficult than it needed to be. So hopefully you guys won't do what I did. Okay, so second, we have the transition phase. Okay, so the transition can be tough, especially if you have obtained a qualification from your previous qualification from a residential institution. So the one that requires you to be on campus and attending classes. Okay, you can find it very difficult to adapt. Okay, so also for those coming straight from grade 12, having to kind of just understand the concept of learning online when your whole life basically you've been used to having someone in front of you and teaching you and explaining, you have a question, whatever the case may be. So that transition tends to be quite difficult. Okay, so these are the pointers that I have picked up along the way that I think would be mindful during this transition phase, because we all go through it. Okay, it might be easier for others and super difficult for some, but we all go through this transition phase. Okay, so first is the adapting skills. Having the ability to adapt will be just one of your most valuable tools in your arsenal. Okay, because you'd need to just adjust to the new learning environment and the tools that we'll be using, because they won't be the same. Like I previously stated, almost everything will be virtual. So being well acquainted with the environment and the tools, being able to adjust to that will really help you along the way. Developing strong time management, organization, self-motivation skills be crucial for your success, for successful transition. So the great thing, like I previously mentioned, we have support services, we have workshops and other academic events, initiatives that help you develop these time management skills and organization, and whatever the case may be. I mean, even this one, study skills. So it's not just a once in a while kind of thing. We have them every single semester. So make use of that and use those to help you adapt during your transition phase. Okay, then the challenges. So identifying and overcoming obstacles during the transition. These are inevitable. You will face challenges from beginning to end. You will have challenges, but being able to identify them, being proactive and being able to identify where you may find challenges and overcoming, that will really be paramount to your academic success. Okay, establishing routines. Now this one really worked for me because I am extremely prone to procrastinating. Okay, so not having a routine in place every day could be extremely detrimental, because at times we tend to take it lightly just because we don't have to go to class every single day. So you think, nah, I'll do it tomorrow. Nah, I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow is the due date. Oh, I'll do it in the morning. And then you don't submit. Then you have to re-register, and it's a whole thing. So establishing a routine is very important. Day-to-day routine. It doesn't have to be extremely stringent or intensive, but you need to have a routine in place. Create a conducive study environment, establish your daily routines to maintain your focus and your discipline. Okay, one thing I've also picked up on is that the discipline that is required of anyone in university is a given. Okay, but I feel as though the discipline required for UNISA student is on another level, because you don't have anyone coming behind your back and reminding you to do this and stay on top of this, and this is what you're supposed to do. Okay, so the discipline is extremely important. And then seeking support, as I've mentioned before as well. So engage with academic advisors, your student counselors at your regional centers, at your campuses. Seek peer support from your fellow students online, or even just a random student that you happen to bump into on campus. Okay, utilize the online resources to navigate the challenges and seek guidance. We have a plethora of online resources on our website that will help you with your time management, with everything that has to do with your studies here with us at UNISA. Okay, so now we're at the Survivor's Guide to Navigating Open Distance e-learning. So these are the 4 pointers that I would deem quite crucial, especially for me. Time management, I've mentioned this before, effective organization and prioritizing your tasks. This is very important. This is where goal setting comes into play as well. This is a concept that was touched on during a previous workshop, the time management workshop, so it is very important. Digital literacy, developing proficiency with digital tools and platforms. We are virtual after all. Almost everything, if not everything, is online. You need to know how to use a laptop. You need to know what Microsoft Office is. Okay, you need to be able to source out information on the internet. You have to be able to navigate the student portal. Okay, self-motivation and self-discipline. Staying committed and driven in a remote learning setup is very difficult, especially if you have an extroverted personality. You might tend to kind of put things to the side and do other things and be out and about and think you have the time, but that self-motivation and self-discipline is really important, especially when deadlines need to be met. Okay, then the wellness support, strategies for maintaining mental and physical well-being. So also make sure you have a life outside of your studies. Okay, socialize from time to time. Spend time with family, do things that you like, hobbies, whatever the case may be, to just ensure that you don't let your studies consume you. Okay. Navigating ODL successfully. Just a few pointers here as well. Okay, so there's engaging actively. Okay, so regularly participating in online discussions, virtual group projects, interactive learning activities to stay engaged. At times at our regional centers or main campuses, we tend to host certain events or certain initiatives in person as well. So if you can, attend those. Network with your fellow students or other UNISA staff, personnel. Engage. actively so. Okay, so connections, engage with your fellow UNISA students. Although working completely independent of others may work for you, it did for me for some time, it is important to seek help from your fellow students if you need the help, be it through study groups, telegrams, WhatsApp groups, tutorials, or even sparking up a random conversation with someone on campus. You stand to benefit a lot from having a community both online and even in person. Okay, staying organized. I've touched on this in the previous slide as well, but staying organized is extremely important. Utilize digital planners, learning platforms, to organize your study material, keep track of your assignments and deadlines. My UNISA is your best friend in this regard, the student platform, because it offers all of this. You have all of that at your disposal. So it is very important that you stay on top of your studies on a daily basis. Slacking off could be so detrimental, you have no idea. Okay, embrace technology, explore diverse digital tools, virtual libraries, educational apps to enhance the learning experience and stay up to date with the latest trends. Okay, so supplement your learning experience with other resources out there that you think will work for you. So for me, one of the things that worked for me was Notion, especially during my postgrad. Notion and having to make sure that I am productive during my coursework and also the research report that you have to submit at the end of the year. Okay, so embrace technology in that regard. Then maintain connections, which goes hand in hand with engaging. Regularly connect with your peers, your educators, support groups, foster a sense of community and mutual learning. The WhatsApp groups are the ones that really helped me the most, especially when it came to study material or keeping abreast of any announcements or whatever the case may be. Okay. So basically, that is our transition now. Oh, the key points. Okay, so the key points basically has to do with what I have deemed to be quite essential, the essentials basically of adapting to open distance e-learning. So if you end up forgetting everything I've said so far, at least remember these three. Well, at least these three. So adaptation, resource utilization, community engagement. Okay, so transitioning, it requires adaptability, involves adjusting to the new mode of learning, fostering self-discipline and leveraging digital resources. Okay, resource utilizations, effectively utilizing online libraries, but even your physical libraries at our regional centers, at our campuses as well. You'll be surprised how many textbooks I did not pay for because I went to the library and found my prescribed book. Okay, so if you utilize the resources that you have, the resources that are readily available to you, the support, the student counselors, advice, tutorials, workshops, all of it, computer labs as well, study material, libraries. So even if I know there are some people who tend to struggle to get a laptop, maybe NSFAS is delaying it or whatever the case may be, there are computer labs at our regional centers and our campuses. Please make use of them. Okay, please, 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 please. I've had a student come here saying that they failed the semester because they didn't have a laptop during when they had to do their assignments. We have labs, computer labs. Utilize them, please. Okay. Community engagement, building networks, participating in virtual work groups. I've touched on this, but it's really important. It really is. I keep emphasizing community engagement because you think just because it's online remote learning, you're on your own, you're gunman. No, engage with other people. It will really help you, especially during the time when you have to submit assignments. Okay, so basically, in a nutshell, we've discussed, I've briefly touched on understanding open distance e-learning, just a conceptual grasp of the approach and the nuances of online learning, adapting and overcoming challenges, the strategies for navigating and triumphing over obstacles, essentials, the essentials to succeeding in ODL, embracing the transition, leveraging the for potential growth, taking full responsibility of your academic journey and making it work for you. Okay, do not make excuses. There are some, believe it or not, students who will then try to direct, so please take full responsibility and make it work for you. Okay. So basically, to finish that off, in my experience, to ensure that you do, I believe it's the most crucial factors to consider when personalizing your open distance e-learning experiences: goal setting, time management, organization, discipline, understanding how all UNISA platforms work, information management that will carry you until your PhD. That is a very essential skill. Microsoft Office is your best friend, okay? So please keep everything in mind. I hope I've been able to give you some sort of insight. I hope I've been able to provide some advice here and there that you can apply to yourself. Maybe you have already applied these because they're quite fundamental.
Once again, good morning, UNISA students. My name is Tina, as they've already alluded. Yes, I've put there. My other name is Trifosa Molekwa. I'm at the DCCD, which is the Directorate for Career Counseling and Development. We are going to talk about concentration, attention, and memory. And before I start, I want to just give you the menu of what we have. In our menu, I'm going to talk as a starter, give you Dr. Martin Luther's quote, Around the Beds. And as our main course, we'll talk on the 2 techniques that you can use for you to be able to concentrate effectively. And of course, in those, we will be adding in the power of positive thinking as one of the tools and how to deal with negative thinking. But as a refreshment, we will quickly go into how to build that memory. So I've just turned my menu vice versa so as to blend this conversation nicely and so that we can chew this food beautifully and make it towards our studies. Concentration. I'm reminded of Dr. Martin Luther King, who said, you cannot keep birds from flying over your head, but you can keep them from building a nest in your hair. And remember, I'm talking about concentration, and majority of you might be wondering, what is this concentration? And him talking about not keeping birds from flying over your head. When Dr. Martin Luther spoke about birds, remember he was a preacher preaching the word of God. And in essence, then he was talking about you making sure that you don't allow the devil from building ideas in your mind that are evil, but making sure that you don't let them sink, those evil thoughts from sinking, but making a choice to eradicate them. So even today, I'm choosing this quote to say, we cannot keep birds from flying over our head, but we can keep them from building a nest in our hair. From building a nest, then we say, what is this? And we want to talk about that which can come against our concentration. When I define concentration, I would say it is just that ability to focus entirely on a task for an extended period. I just want to take a break. I feel like I'm just flying. And I'm thinking of you guys that you might have been flying with this and feeling anxious. Can we just breathe in a lot of air? And then we breathe out. Thank you. With that, I want us now to slow down, because now we want to just look into what are the things that are there that could be hampering our concentration, but we are getting now into our menu. We want to enjoy this food. So I looked at it and I said, For majority of us, we would want to make it in our studies. But I tell you, there are a lot of things that would want to come and become a distraction towards our concentration. Remember, if you concentrate and you are focused, there is this nice feeling of you being able to grasp everything that you have been studying. If you concentrate, you are able to pick up a lot of understanding into your work. And at the end of the day, I can just see you stretching your hands and wanting to hug everybody in the house because you feel full. You feel that your tank is full. You feel that your mind is filled up with knowledge and understanding. But does that happen always so easy? No. It doesn't always happen so easy. Why? Because there are other things that like to come and to distract us. And so I thought of two techniques and I said, we need to employ this. I don't want to take your time. I want to be quick and say, let's explore these two techniques. The number one technique that you can employ is stop. That technique works to the best and it has worked for me, and I hope as I'm sharing it, it will work for you. You find your mind wandering at the time that you want to study. Let me talk of the stop. With the stop, what happens is this. Let me just go ahead a little bit and say, with the stop, you have your mind. You want to study. You have put your books on the desk. All of a sudden, something comes in your mind. Either it's something painful that you had a discussion with somebody and didn't go well, or it's just something that bothers you to say, I want to do something next week. So I'm saying, how do you apply it? You say to that wandering mind, stop. When you say stop, you are actually speaking to yourself, you are speaking to your mind to say, my mind, stop wandering. Do not be distracted. And then immediately sit up. Be aware of yourself at that moment. Be aware that you are not concentrating, meaning you become self-conscious. And immediately find out, why am I losing concentration? And then rectify it. I'll give an example. I said, while you are studying, suddenly a message pops up on your phone. You open it. But in the midst of opening it, you find yourself being carried away by that message. Either it's a story of somebody that robbed someone, then you get carried away, and now with our phones, then it will be another message that pops up, and then all of a sudden, you are out of your space. You are now into that story. You are reading it further and further. But for some people, there and there, another bulb will just pop and say, hey, remember you are writing your essay. So I'm saying you must say to yourself, stop. And when you say stop, remember you have just engaged your mind. Your mind will stop and you say, I need to go back to that essay. I need to finish that which I was writing. I need to complete my task. Remember, some things need immediate attention. What do I mean by this? Let's take now, when you had that distraction, it could have been not a phone, but just a thought. A thought of, I needed to write a report. Remember, now you are studying, but you remember you're at work, they need a report. So I'm saying, instead of you finding yourself being distracted, that thought requires immediate attention. How? Immediately say, oh, I have to write a report. Okay, then you are specifying, oh, what kind of a report? You take a book on the side, you write, oh, my monthly report. Oh, when can I write it? Okay, now you are sitting down, it's on a Tuesday. We are sitting here, it's 11:21. Okay, no, I will start writing that report at 3 o'clock. Then you specify the time. At 3 o'clock when? Today, the 26th, I will start the report at 3 o'clock. When you do that, you are helping your mind to engage, to not linger, and to not feel like there is this thing, because they might come being 1, 2, 3. Remember, these distractors, they come like a baby or a child. When your child keep coming to you and say, but mommy, I'm asking for, and you keep on ignoring them, suddenly they will even pull you or just make noise or throw a tantrum. But if you say to a child, honey, baby, wait, I'm going to give you when I finish writing this work at 11 o'clock. 11, maybe they don't know what is 11 o'clock. You say, give me, maybe watch that movie that you are watching. If we don't give that thought that just came in, that popped in, attention, it might linger and keep on coming back just like a child. So try and be specific towards it, put a time frame on it. In this case, if it's a report, but if it's a child, then tell them, I will attend to you in a few minutes, or finish off that movie that you are watching. So at least you have distracted them, but at the same time, you'll be able to attend to what you are doing. Going back, like I was saying then, when Martin Luther said, you cannot stop birds from flying. So the number one technique that you can use is to just say stop to your mind. But then the second technique that you can use is the power of positive thinking. You must be able to think positively, meaning you must be able to move from negative thinking to positive thinking. What am I talking about? Let's go to the example of positive thinker. I want to read for you The Power of Positive Thinking, which is a short story. And when I talk of positive thinking, I'm talking of the thoughts that come to your mind, and then the positive self-talk that you incorporate within that which has tried to come and distract you. The Power of Positive Thinking is a short story. It's a story, it says, the old fisherman sat by the sea, staring at the rolling waves under the night sky. He had gone out to sea earlier that day, but caught nothing. His small boat rocked gently beside him, empty again. For weeks, he had struggled. No matter how early he left or how late he returned, the fish just went biting. His wife tried to reassure him that his luck would turn out, but he was losing hope. As he gazed at the stars, he thought of his father and grandfather, who had both been fishermen. The sea provides, his father always said. But in his case, the sea seemed to have abandoned him. It proceeds. Just then, a bright light appeared, dancing on the water. At first, the fisherman thought it was the reflection of the moon, but the light moved and flickered. He realized with a start that it was a flame coming close. A small boat drifted into view, lit by a lantern. In it sat a young boy, no more than 10 years old, holding a fishing pole. The boy called out, "Have you had any luck today, sir?" The fisherman sighed, "Not today, I'm afraid." The boy smiled. "Don't lose hope. My father always says that patience and perseverance will pay off. The fish will come, you will see." With that, the boy's boat drifted back into the night. The fisherman sat in silence, pondering. pondering the boy's words. His optimism and faith pierced the darkness like that small flame, rekindling the fisherman's own hopes. He knew then that luck will find him again if he met each day with faith and determination. The sea provides, after all, for those who persevere. This story was taken from the book, The Power of Positive Thinking, which is a short story. With this story, I was trying to say, let's think, let's know that in our mind, there will be things that will come and want to interfere. Just like this man, I want you to think for yourself to say, what are the things that are coming in my way towards me accomplishing the work that I want to do? What are the things that are coming in my way to distract my thought processes when I want to concentrate? And I say, with that story, we learn something. And when we want to apply that in our lives, there could be distractions that are coming your way, more especially when you want to study effectively. So let's look into what then do we do to make sure that we remove those thoughts that interfere with our concentration. So if you find yourself not concentrating, but thinking, I'll give an example. Hey, this work is so boring. I really don't know why I waste my energy. I don't know why I waste my time studying. If that thinking has ever happened to you and has come, with me now coming in, I say, now you need to change that statement. So you can change this negative energy or this negative thinking to a positive one by saying this to yourself, oh, this work can be interesting if I try to make it interesting and lively. Of course, for some of you, it could be the work is so boring, the work is so a lot. Try and sing the work. Like Mpo has alluded, try to associate your work. Use mnemonics, meaning every work that you are studying, try to make it lively by using different study methods. And I believe with that, it will make you feel motivated and you will find it much easier to concentrate. Again, as you do that, you will make sure that talking to yourself, as you do that, make sure that talking to yourself assists you to keep yourself focused and focused to complete your studies. Now we want to go and look into, then how do I make sure after I have stopped my mind, stopped the distractors, stopped the birds from flying on my head, starting to speak positive, and when I have ignited that positive energy, how then do I keep that which I want to study in, and how do I memorize? How good is your memory? It's my approach towards this. We are different. We were told that some of us are the L1s, others are the R1s, others are the R2s, others are the R1s. So you need to remember, what is it that helps me to memorize easy? You say, oh, okay, Tina, I think I remember well when some of you here, they remember well when they see. I normally say to people, you know, when I go places, I don't remember places by their names per se. I remember a place by the landmarks. I will tell you, hey, there was a mountain there. You see, at that corner, there was a shop. It's a red shop. And when you turn, there is a house with a big rock next to it. So I remember well when I see. But of course, in the group, there is somebody who says, Tina, I remember well when I touch things. As soon as I can touch this clothing, or I can hear somebody says, when I hear a certain song, I'm able to associate that song with my work, which then says, some of you, when you study, put a certain song towards certain modules. And in that way, if you remember by hearing, it could be that, oh, when I hear this song, then it reminds me of that essay, of that work that I'm supposed to do. Some remember well by smelling things. Yes, these days you are fortunate, you study distance, as in you can even write exam from home. During our times, we couldn't. So you can put certain smells for certain subjects. Why? To associate that smell with that particular chapter that you were studying, so as to help your memory to remember. But of course, yes, taste. We remember some of the things. Maybe you ate a peri-peri and it helped you about that chemical reaction. And I'm not necessarily saying go eat a peri-peri during exam, but a little bit of small acha there during your exam might help. But no, don't take it, they might penalize you. But in a nutshell, I'm just saying during your study time, you can use those different methods to help your memory capture everything that you are studying. The other one could be, how do I give muscle to my memory? Read. And when you read, close the book, try and remember what you have read, and go back to the book. Remember, we have been using this method in the olden days. Guys, this hasn't changed. That skill still works. The skill still works in that you can read something, ask your family members to hold the book, and you say, can you please just help me memorize this work? And in the midst of you trying to remember, you can also associate that work with the child that was holding and the laughter that they had when you said a certain bombastic word during the reading. And that can also help you during an exam. While you are thinking, oh, I remember Lebogang was holding the book and the chapter that I was reading, it was about BODMAS rules. And she was just laughing about this BODMAS. And BODMAS is about brackets of multiplication, addition. Oh, then it means this sum, I must work on it using the BODMAS rule. So that is an example of how you can read, close the book, and check if you can remember. But the other one could be you read your work in chunks. I would want us to look at the example that I've just given there. When I'm looking at it, unfortunately, we don't get a chance to share and let them talk, but I will just do it. When we say you work on chunks, just imagine I close. I wish I could just close that number and say, guys, tell me what number is there. So for somebody, they would just say, hey, it's 194, and then they struggle to remember. But somebody, when they do it in chunks, they will say it is 1945, 1066 of 1812. And in that way, you can put your work in chunks the same way as I did. The other way of putting muscles on your memory is to use rhymes. Guys, you remember that for us to learn, and even at the schools, teachers use this method. Like, for instance, the A, B, C up till J, Q, Z. We couldn't just remember them, but the teachers made sure that they make the learners to read and learn those words using rhymes or rhythm. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Already you have named 6 letters. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. 6 letters. Oh, what about your work now? What makes you change as an adult? You can use the rhymes. They work. It might feel like, oh, this is stupid, but I tell you, it does work. Who of you don't remember Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star? Because it rhymes, it is universal. We remember it even today. How to learn to remember? We can't expect to learn to remember if we don't practice. So my encouragement is Let's go and practice and practice and practice. What do we practice? Memorizing. Read, rewrite, make notes. Read. Get after you have read, get to a group discussion, explain these things to others. That is another way of you getting to remember all of this well.
It's a privilege, I'll be honest with you. It's a privilege for the mere fact that UNISA has made sure that student counselors are available to each and every student of UNISA. Like Lebo said earlier, unfortunately, we have access to a lot of things and a lot of resources that we underutilize. You know, and I believe that is caused by lack of knowledge, as Katin is saying. You get that you didn't even know we had free student counselors that give out free services to you as our students. Or you have full access to the library to go borrow textbooks there. You know, these are things, I'll be honest, I myself, I only found out when I was doing my second year with man. If I don't have money for a textbook, I can actually go to the library and go borrow, you know, and I don't even have to go there physically. I can just do it on my UNISA and they post it or courier it to me as soon as it becomes available. You know, these are resources that are available to you. Miss Monama, Miss Molekwa, Miss Maifadi, they are here for you. You know, I believe it would be best for you to take advantage of the situation and utilize them. You know, utilize them. Try to contact them. All our information, all our contact details are on our website. You just send an email using your MyLife email, of course. You send an email and you communicate with us. You know, if you want to set up an appointment, you also have an option to do that. You don't have to come physically to UNISA. You know, some people struggle with things like maybe like taxi fare, bus money, or Imali train, you know. So you can actually, as long as you have data, because we do send you data on a monthly basis, you can just have an online session and talk to our student counselors. That's what they're here for, you know. This is what they're here for, to share this kind of information with you guys. It's all about helping you at the end of the day, to make sure with your study experience, iba sharp, you know, and you become successful at the end of the day. Remember, when you come to school, you come to study, learn, you know, meet people as well. You meet people. Our student mentors can attest to this. By now, I mean, I think they only started in February, but by now, they have more connections than they did when they started the program. You understand? Because remember, after schooling, one wants to go, maybe pursue, you're going to start a business. Another person doesn't think like that. They just want to go and get a comfortable job. You understand? Now, for you to be able to gain access to some things, you need to connect with people. You need to. You need to connect with people, learn new skills as you go along the way. You know, always have an open mind to learning. It's all about learning. Learn. After you have learned, you will get a platform where you get a job or an interview. That's where you tell them exactly what you've learned. You know, that's where you sell yourself. You know, because remember, employers are looking for people who will solve problems. It's all about solving problems. For most careers, to be honest. For a lot of careers, it's all about solving problems, you know. So having an open mind is a very good thing, guys. Just keep that in mind, you know. Always have an open mind and always put yourself in a position of learning. And if you know, Guti, you have skills that can benefit other people, your fellow students, do share. Do share. You know, there's no I in team. You know, and teamwork always works. It's just one of those things. I can't explain it. It's always been like that. Teamwork, it works. I'm not saying there are people who can't work by themselves, like our L's, like the L quadrants. No, you know. But in majority of cases, it's all about us helping each other. You know, all about us helping each other. Remember, especially with success, it's something that comes to you. You might think you're chasing it. You know, yes, you're chasing the money. In most cases, people are chasing the money, not the success itself, because the success, it comes to you. I know it comes to you after what you have become. You know, and obviously you becoming is you collecting a lot of skills along the way. You know, like Lebu said earlier, she has collected a lot of skills and knowledge through the methods that she used. You know, there's many ways to skin a cat.
Because I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I'm struggling to categorize myself, I'm not too sure if I'm struggling with time management or I just cannot concentrate at all, because I do know that I concentrate better when I'm listening. But what I've also noticed is that each time I try to read my books, I just like
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know, would it be advisable to maybe get brain boosters or something? Because I also have 2 kids that I'm with at home, and one is a toddler and the other one is a preschooler and one is a toddler. So I'm just asking myself, are they the ones that are occupying my mind more, or is it that I cannot concentrate at all? Because when I'm on the online sessions, I do grasp some of the information and I take notes. But when I'm trying to read my textbooks, ubuthongo botla bunchi vele bufike nje ngathi I'm exhausted, whereas I know that I'm well rested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is actually quite common, Jennifer. I'll be honest with you. A lot of people won't share such, you know, but we appreciate you coming through, man. Okay. I'm not quite sure if Austina or Osumpo who will actually respond to you, but you are gonna get a response right now and get help, ne?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your question, Jennifer.
And yes, thank you, Jennifer, for that response, or even the concern that you have regarding what you are experiencing. And I believe you are not the only one. Like I said, there will be birds that fly on your head by the time you want to concentrate. Even the body itself, it's I talked of the mind as having other things flying, meaning are the distractors. Your body also can have that. It's just that we didn't talk more on the environment. So when normally I talk about how to study effectively, I would say also check the type of food that you eat. You said I have rested. Yes, that's good. If you have rested enough, it's fine. But then check the type of food that you eat before you want to study. Certain food, they sort of become a distraction towards your concentration and even you paying attention. Like I normally give an example in my presentation. Ukutya okufana ne-banchow, okugcwele amafutha, okunganamoya phakathi. What happens by the time you want to sit down, what you have eaten will want to draw oxygen from your brain, and that will sort of make your body to collapse and just want to sleep. So checking, like I'll give an example, eat food like the ones that release energy easy, abu sweet potato, abu fish. Those are foods that are quite simpler to your body, but they release energy slowly and they don't make you feel sluggish and tired. Thank you.
Austina, thank you very much, because I also can attest to that, especially after a heavy meal. It becomes something else, especially when you had things like AK, burgers and chips, amakota, like you just said. Because I know a lot of people, especially in the townships, we survive on kotas. That's what people call panichaus. And that one is not healthy to consume before studying. No, it's not. It is really not. Jennifer?
Yes.
Oh, yes, did you get the response?
Yes, I did get the response.
Okay, right. So you know what to do now, right?
I will try, but then Well, I've been, this problem, I also wrote in the comments that I'm even beginning to think it's medical, because I did a bit of research and they said eat almonds and fish and da 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 da. And I am doing most of that stuff. So I'm just a bit skeptical on taking these brain boosters and whatnot. So I don't know if I should be alarmed or.
So Jenny, tell me, before you go to the boosters, have you tried these methods of, number one, adjusting the diet, and obviously trying to create an environment as conducive for you to study? Have you tried them, those two at least?
Yes, because I read what Miss Monama just mentioned about the fish. I do eat fish, and I bought a lot of almonds because apparently they're good for the concentration and whatnot. And I've also reduced on eating a lot of starch and ukudla okunomafuta,
Yeah.
I no longer study on the bed, and then just put my kids to the other room or let them play with their toys outside, and I put the other one to sleep. So that's why I'm beginning to ngiyathuka man ngathi ngishaya uvalo, because I know that esikolweni I'm starting to feel ngathi ngibe slimanyana or something.
No, man, no, don't feel like that. It's normal. I'll be honest, it's normal. Remember, for instance, in high school, you didn't have a lot of responsibilities. So even now your brain, it didn't function as much as it does now. You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, be kind to yourself. When I just keep on using these methods, remember, these are well-researched methods. Keep on using the methods and check it progress slowly, you understand? Because it's a gradual thing. It just doesn't change just like that, Iba gradual. Then now, Zobona, there will be improvements. If you just stick to it, just stick to it. Yeah. Austina, you wanted to say something?
No, I appreciate what you are saying. It's a gradual process. Indeed, we are wearing different caps. Oh, Mama, you are a student. And just to speak with a under correction, maybe you are a wife. I'm just speaking under correction. You are a sister. You are a community member. You are all these things. So, as I've also alluded, that self-talk, a positive self-talk. Umcabango weza ngiba tired, ngizoba ne-energy this time izoba khona, and then you sit. The other thing is sit. Ubuthongo biza siyavuka manje sizosebenza. And bit by bit you do one small part, then you just sit there, you nap. As you nap, then you open your eyes, you do another chunk of work. Bit by bit, you practice, and then eventually you get it right.
Thank you.
This is very helpful. I think I was being too nyaijaha. I wanted it to work clear.
No, it's normal. Remember, you want to succeed, you are studying because you want to better a certain aspect of your life. We understand. It might be financially, it might be mental, it might be emotionally, whatever the case is, but you have this goal that you want to achieve, So obviously the pressure is there coming from yourself before you even checking other people. We understand. Just from yourself, you already have that pressure. So do your part. I know it's not easy, but be kind to yourself. Be kind. Be kind. I'm not saying be too soft on yourself and start being lazy. No, but just know, listen, though, they don't just happen like that. It's processes. It's processes. Just be kind to the process and stick to it. Believe you me, next time when we meet for another program, you'll be telling me a different story. That's what I'm definitely sure of.
Yeah, Bonga, thank you so much.
If you need any sort of assistance regarding what we were doing for the day, you do understand by now that people like Ms. Molekwa, Ms. Monama, Ms. Maifadi, even I myself, we are here to assist you. Everything about us that you need to know is on our website. Get into contact with us. We'll do our best to assist you in any way we can. This is what we are here for. These are the services we bring to you. counseling and career development. And we'll be doing these workshops throughout the semester. You know, we do them twice in a year since we have 2 semesters in a year. Please do come through. We'll be having external stakeholders who will be sharing jobs and strategies on how to get those jobs and, you know, etc. And how to be a professional in any field that you're in, from your psychologist to your engineer to your lawyer, etc., etc. You know, these workshops are here for you guys. Please utilize them. Have a lovely day. Thank you for your time and thank you for your cooperation. Love you. Goodbye.